Hi, Tammy.
Hey, Will, he lives. How's his job going?
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I can't hear you. Maybe. Oh, I know why. My computer was muted.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
My mic was muted, or my mic was not muted, but my speakers were.
What's going on with you?
Not much. Wrapping up a week. Did some field work this week. Um,
Burn
so,
any dead people?
huh?
Did you burn any dead people?
No, no. Uh, I did learn more about tire shredding operations though, so that was cool.
Oh my God, you're getting all the interesting stuff.
Yep.
What do they do?
Well, this particular place shreds the tires to be used as a fuel source for, I believe, a cement plant.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how small do the shreds have to be?
They do two shreds, and the final one, it's like discs like this, like little 2 inch, 3 inch discs or something like that.
Like in diameter?
Yeah, it's about that
And
size.
then and then how
Like,
thick are they?
I mean, just the thickness of like the tire itself.
Oh, that's
They're like
still pretty big.
they're passenger tires, so
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. Hey, Erica,
Hello,
how are you doing?
doing good. Can't complain. I had a quick trip to Washington, D.C. Monday and Tuesday, so just playing some catch up.
Hmm. Quick trip.
Yeah, it was action packed.
Wow. Yeah, it's a long way to go for a short time.
It was good. I got to meet Sean Duffy, whether that's cool or not. At least he's like a big name in the transportation space. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Did he give you any insights?
um,
Like human factors?
yeah, hopefully he's not truly in charge of transportation decisions for the country.
Well, let us know. Let us know there. Oh, excuse me. It is sleepy time. Hey everyone. I got a message from Marilee saying that once again she has been ambushed by her department head job. Um, I've really planned and I will probably be successful in ever avoiding having that type of job.
Do you need help in getting rid of it?
Merrily,
Yeah.
um, well, I think it's just the clock is ticking thing. I think once you're in, you're in. Anyway, oh, somebody's user number.
I think that's Whitney.
Oh, Whitney. C8286. Isn't that personally identifiable information that we're not allowed to see?
We're both
What
laughing back here.
funny way to spell Whitney.
Maybe. Maybe that's the thing. Yeah, yeah. Um, hey everyone. I was just wondering if anyone has a fantastic photo. We've been threatening to do this for a long time. So you've had a long time to think about it, which did not stop my brain from going completely blank. But I think Erica, you kind of started it. I don't remember what conversation that came from. So
I
you
don't
don't
remember.
have to have one. I just thought it'd be a fun thing to do. Or you reminisce of like a something that impressed you if you don't have a photo. I also have a hard time finding photos. Funky coffee shop or bar.
I can start.
Yeah.
Because I went to see if it still exists, but it does not. And it was
Dang.
pre-internet. Well, maybe not internet, but certainly pre-social media. It was a coffee shop called Espress Yourself in Valparaiso, Indiana, where I'm from, which is an incredibly white place. It was a potential KKK headquarters. Um, and the coffee shop was run and owned by a black-white lesbian couple, which was astonishing at its time and would still be so now. They hired me to be their lead barista. That's why it's my favorite coffee shop ever. I got to roast
Dang.
the coffee and learn all of the drinks and then like make all the fancy drinks. It was one of my best early employment experiences. They really invested in me as a person. Um, and I had nothing to really show for myself, but I worked really hard at their job and they ended up writing me a letter of recommendation for grad school. So
Nice.
collectively, jointly. So, but
That is awesome.
yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. They moved on, I think, to other
Oh
things.
man.
But
If you're ever in Valparaiso, you have not the opportunity then.
yeah, I just don't get coffee if I've ever, I don't really have occasion to go back anymore. But uh,
Well, I didn't know you were a barista either, Allison. That's also interesting information.
yeah, and it may not surprise people. I entered a competition, a regional competition, because I like competitions. It was like early days, food trucks. They weren't even called food trucks then. We launched a truck and then we drove it around um, the region, which is like Lake County, Gary, Calumet, East Chicago, and tried to sell coffee. But then we also met up with other people making coffee and had a little competition in our truck because we had a mobile espresso machine.
Dang. Well, hidden talents there. Not hidden anymore.
We sold
Anyone
a lot more
else?
Takis than we sold espresso drinks, though, I'll say.
I have one. I'm looking for the photo that I can't find yet, so we'll tell the story while I'm doing it. I was working in Tigray, Ethiopia, which is like a not very nice place and very undeveloped. Um, and the town I was staying in, the only bar had a sign out front with a giant Denver Broncos head on it, but none of the staff had any idea it was associated with something. It was just like it had been there for years. It was falling apart, like it was peeling off. Um, but none of the staff had like any. No, it's just always been our sign. Uh, so I still to this day don't know how the Denver Broncos head got there. Really hope I can find this photo. I can't find any of my Ethiopia photos. Anyway, that's my most bizarre one. It had absolutely terrible drinks and coffee, but it was the only place in town to go. So I went there a lot.
I can share a photo. This was hard for me because basically my entire life is just about traveling to really cool bars. So I have like tons to choose from, although it turns out I'm not very good at taking pictures. So I don't have anything good to show, but this probably is one that pops in my mind. Let me see if I can share the picture. It's not the best picture, but
What is it?
the story behind it is my friend. I don't know how he found it, but he found this like really old French lady in some really small village in France. And she like had a bar outside of like in her house. And so we were in Belgium and we like took the train somewhere and rented bicycles and we bicycled literally like 6 hours to this lady's house in some French village. And she didn't speak any English and we ordered drinks and it was absolutely disgusting and everyone thought it was like the craziest thing that we bicycled hours to like some lady's house and like all the French people were asking us all these questions about our life and it was cool, but yeah, it was super unique and she's probably no longer alive. She was very old at the time, but it was fun. So drinking at some random French lady's house in some small village is probably my favorite bar I've been to.
Okay, any other takers?
I have one. Among many, but I was like, I forgot about this. So, the one that I can remember right now is we were in Bruges, Belgium, and there is a bar that's like you have to like find the hidden door and then go down like a alleyway. It's like one of the smallest streets. Actually, I found a somebody wrote a blog about it. So, it's still there. And so we spent my husband's 40th there, and it was just like true Belgium. It was very nice. Beer was really good. And yeah, it was a really fun trip.
Oh, I've been to that bar.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in the basement and yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I have a picture of me sitting on that like brick on the wall upstairs in our house actually with a friend. So yeah, same trip actually that we went to the French bar at.
Nice. We love Bruges. That was our favorite place.
I have good memories of Bruges, but I did not go to that bar.
Yeah, we missed that one.
Yeah, gotta go back.
Yeah.
I don't have photos, but there was, I don't go to the bars that much, but when I was younger, I definitely did. But when I lived in Jacksonville Beach, one of my favorite places to go was this place called Harmonious Monks. And this is an interesting place because I don't like, um, I don't usually like participate in like sing-alongs or dancing ever, but this place was really nice. They had these long tables. So they weren't individual tables, like cafeteria style tables. And all the staff at the bar are in a bar like a band. They all have to be members of the band of the bar. And they'll go at like different times and like sing covers. So like some people will sing, some people play instruments, but all over the tables they have like tambourines and stuff like that. So basically when they play, everyone like sings and like bashes on the tambourines and stuff like that. And the few times I would go, never by myself and never do anything by myself, but when I would go with friends, I would sing, like my voice would be hoarse the next morning from singing and stuff like that. So that was actually one of my favorite places to go, despite it. The main thing was doing things I am uncomfortable doing. But that was a place that I do kind of miss. They had two of them. And I just thought it was like a really unique thing. And I was always jealous, even though I can't sing or play an instrument. It's like, damn, I wish I worked here so I could be part of their
Mm,
band.
mm.
But yes, if you're ever in Jacksonville Beach, I don't know if it's still there, but Harmonious Monks, they have two locations now. So yeah.
Legit, Will.
I can add one in too. Um, so my junior year of undergrad, since CC's on the block plan, and so it's one class at a time, I took a class in Belize, and we ended up, it was like a coral reef and tropical forest ecology class. And we ended the last 2 weeks we spent on an island off the coast of Belize. And the only place big enough for a classroom table was in the bar, which was also on the water. And so I'm gonna send a picture in the chat. See if I can copy this. See if this will go in. But oh, unable to send. But so this bar, it was horribly overpriced, and we weren't allowed to drink before class, and we could only drink after class. And the only thing they'd serve was it was like milk and cognac, and I don't know why that was the only liquor that you could buy. If you were gonna buy like anything, it had to be milk and cognac, or you could buy like a beer in a bottle. And so we spent a lot of time just being like, what is this terrible, horrifying bar? But it was, I can find a picture of the um this picture I'm gonna put in the chat. This will ever load. So the island is called Southwater Key. Let's see. This is a picture of the bar
You can also share it,
and the
Danny.
dock.
The
Can I?
bar. The, you should be able to share
Okay,
as long
let's
as
see.
it's not on your computer and not your phone.
Yeah. Okay. So this was I gotta go back now. Oh my gosh.
Dang, that looks nice. I feel really bad for you having to take that class. It must have been super stressful.
I know, I know. The only downside was when it rained because there are no walls. Like the rain would come in, and so you had to like guard your notebook and like you had to turn so your back was to the wind so you could take notes during class. Um, and then I have a picture here. This is us minutes after class let out.
Oh my
Uh,
God. Did your parents see this?
no, they've never seen this.
Dang.
Yeah, so that's one of our weirder and more favorite bars we've been to.
What? Oh yeah, Christian. I want to hear your thoughts about what we're going to talk about today. So I'll make sure you have time when you get back. You did
Yeah.
warn me about that, and now we're just gabbing.
Yeah.
I was going to be
Yeah.
efficient.
Sorry for the last minute change. It's the only time before the
No, you're
holidays we can
fine.
do it.
So D Danny, you triggered me. I was going to tell another story, but now I'll tell a story about a bar that I never went to as a bar. So I grew up Mormon. You maybe can't tell now, but my folks are still Mormon, and we lived in the UK for a bit. And their church there was not very popular, and it was so small that the only meeting room they could have, this is why you triggered me, was like above a bar. And I don't know how much y'all know about Mormons, but they don't smoke or drink. So we would come out of the church and like be hit by this huge cloud of smoke. This was back when you could still smoke in bars. A huge cloud of smoke, people having a great time drinking on it was like basically a pub. And we'd all come out of church and be hit with this wave of party atmosphere. And the one thing that I remember is like they'd also have really loud music. And I don't know if y'all remember that Boney M song, Rah Rah Rasputin. That was playing when we came out of church one day. So that was like my exposure to perhaps a more liberated world.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I was originally gonna tell a story of a bar from the town I grew up in Delaware. But when Will was talking, it reminded me of a different one that I think has had much more of a formative impact on me. And so it was in Seattle. So when I went to Seattle for grad school, I I discovered the kinds of music that I still listen to today, and some parts of which I exposed Misa to at the beginning of October when we were in Illinois. Um, and so I exposed him to more of the thrashy, screamy, industrial rock side, not as much the gothic rock side of what I tend to listen to. Um, but so there was this bar. So I met a friend of mine in grad school who introduced me to all this music. I'm like, okay, wow, this is great music. I had just got a tiny little taste of it before getting to Seattle. And so we went out, and so there's this one bar that I would go to. It's like my grad school years were my clubbing days. And my hair was really long, motorcycle jacket with various things hanging from it. And I'd go to this bar on Friday nights, got to know the people who worked there. And I didn't drink beer at the time. I didn't drink beer ever until 6 days before my 30th birthday. And this was still grad school. And so I would always get a bottle of wine, and they would just have the bottle of wine ready for me. They knew I was coming. So I'd get there, they'd give it to me, and they'd start playing all this music, and I'd just go out there dancing like everything. And the little stage, I get up a stage and be dancing. I just danced for like hours after drinking the bottle of wine. And I'm still the music I listen to today. Um, I, yeah, uh, I obviously I put on a different I emit a different impression than that. I don't go to bars and dance anymore, but that music and just the all of that yeah, just the music is stuff I still listen to. And so I think that going there and learning of all that music and it has influenced me. And it was just a lot of fun. And people, I would say 95% of the clothing was black, and the other 5% was split probably 3% bright red and 2% white.
Okay, anyone else have confessions? Misa's declining. Whitney's off camera. C8368 is off camera. Okay, well, are you sure? Because we do want to hear from you.
And I don't think I was corrupting the help. No.
I
Misa has
feel
his
like
own style.
I don't have a connection to a specific like coffee shop or bar. So yeah, I don't have a story.
You're young, there's time.
What about a wild grocery store?
Okay. Hey, while y'all are here, uh, slight change of subject. Some people have answered, but if you cannot make this time next semester, tell me now, raise your hand. Otherwise, I will record all of you as responding yes, and then you don't have to respond. Okay, I'm screenshotting you, so I remember who responded.
I can also speak for Pi because we talked about it this morning. He is available this same time next semester.
Okay, I love it when people just are available and I don't have to reschedule, or Kristen doesn't have to reschedule. That is awesome. Eh, anything else? Okay. Discussion. Yeah, so we had a discussion about papers before, and then they kind of centered around papers, but I really wanted to open up what we want to share with the public. This is coming up as we develop materials for our participants, as we engage in outreach, as people ask us questions. And I think there's a lot of, like, I've had thoughts about, oh, I have nothing to say, or it's already out there, everybody knows, or they don't want to hear something that's so technical. And then as soon as I engage with people, I realize that that's not true, and that we do have something to offer, and that they really want to hear. People are really interested in their air quality. Maybe not everybody in the world, but many people. And so, what I would like us to think about, because I think we're going to be engaging in more communication in the next year and trying to spiff up our webpage and so on. I want to think about what are the, not everything, but what are the things that we're really knowledgeable about, that we've developed expertise in, that we ought to be sharing. And also, you can think about it the other way. What have people asked you about? And then you feel like you don't have anywhere to point them. So yeah, take a minute to think about that. And really, particularly out of this project, but doesn't have to be. Okay, who's got a thought?
So, I mean, I don't think this will come as a surprise to anybody, but I tend to think on just about anything that I do, and I think this is a great project for this. How do we get it to the practitioners, the contractors, and even better, how do we get it to communities? And I think there have been a very small number, but there have been a few times when I have been asked to kind of more speak to at a community level because of the connections I have in my professional work. And I feel like to me, those are some of my absolute favorite opportunities to speak because you, you get to the people who are, they're not experts and they do want to know. And I feel like it can really have a lot of impact that way. Um, as Tammy says, we might be surprised at how curious people are a lot of times and how much they want to know about these things. And when I've had the unusual but not zero opportunity to sit in a room where just a bunch of local residents in the room who are there to hear about some of this indoor air quality stuff. They got some really great questions and a lot of curiosity and a lot of excitement and interest. So that's what I would really like to see is how, you know, going not into the journals. We should do the journals. I'm not saying we shouldn't do the journals, but how do we also go that direction as deeply as possible? And I think it starts with practitioner conferences and then just leveraging the resources we have. I know that separately from me, ICRT is a part of this to develop some training stuff on the pressures. And so leveraging those sorts of things to get it into content designed for practitioner and residents.
So Paul, I don't know if you're where we're at on this, but Kristen and Bethany and I have been working steadily on that curriculum. And I think I haven't said this yet, but I think we're about to ask you if that's hitting the right level.
Okay.
One of the things that I found from developing that is I thought it was going to be simple. I asked Allison for some of her air quality stuff. I asked other people for indoor air quality stuff. Um, and when I got what would be even delivered in a classroom, it didn't match. It didn't match because um, the level was too high, not useful enough. There was nothing wrong with it for what it was, but we had to start from scratch pretty much.
Mm,
It was really surprising to me. I had thought this was going to be an easy part of the project. It's one of the hardest parts of the project, I think. So we'll come back to that another time.
hmm
I've also started to worry that that's going to be, because of ICRT developing it, it's going to be paywalled, right? And so that's not along the lines of helping communities and having the information be free.
Yeah,
Um,
ICRT has never paywalled anything. I would not expect that to start.
what if we do it for CEUs? It's
You,
training, right? Well, we'll
it's
talk.
true.
We'll talk separately.
Yeah.
Separately, we'll talk. Okay. Um, but I think that kind of like it until I start engaging there, I don't realize how big a gap there is between what we know and what people need to know. That's really been eye-opening for me. I feel like I could spend many, many hours developing content for people who need it and not ever learn, like developing any new knowledge, just getting what we have out. And that's not that that's what I want to do, but I feel like there's such a big gap.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to hear from other people too.
I think from my perspective, what we've been asked to provide and what we've been asked to present, people want to know what to do, like what things to buy, best practices, like they like hearing the information on how, like what's happening or why, but they want to know what. They want to know what to do next. So I think if we were to develop anything, so it's hard to do that though and put like CSU on your name, name on it and everything. And you don't want to, it's a fine line for giving them exactly what they need to be doing. And so, but that's what they want.
Right, we don't want to be in the business of like consumer reports, for
Right.
example. But so that's
But the indoor air cleaner thing, like the flyer that I made for that, that
Huh.
was something I would consider as great for communities. And then they would see Sapphire's or CSU's name on it and then reach out to us if they had more questions or wanted other things. So just giving little tidbits and information about what they can be doing.
Yeah. Did we share that with Healthy Housing Coalition? The flyer?
No, just Melina. So
Yeah.
I can do that.
Maybe we should. They don't have to use it, but they said
Mhm.
they wanted information. Ellison, you've worked with a lot of communities in the Denver area and in the Fort Collins area. Do you get this kind of question? What's your typical response? How have you responded to people's questions?
Mm, I think the ones that came to mind when you posed the question are people ask questions about things they're familiar with, like radon. Um, and I think products, like what Kristen said. I think if I had to say what is the most common question I encounter is like, what should I buy or what should I stop buying?
Yeah.
In terms of uh, pointing them to things, I don't point to particular products unless there's like unassailable evidence. So, like for instance, electrostatic precipitators produce ozone, or certain types of air filters produce ozone, and that's easy to talk about because that's, I guess, easy because my belief is that the data is really, really sound there, and I have no qualms about saying you should not buy those. And the same for products like Fabuloso, which if people don't aren't familiar with that, it can be a much more common product in some neighborhoods or places. It's a lot more common in Hispanic neighborhoods. In Puerto Rico, I have a friend that works there on indoor air quality, well, more really more environmental health, but she does a lot of inventories of consumer products, and Fabuloso is a product that comes up. It's not as bad as say like mothballs in terms of like the overt toxicity of the compounds. It's more the amount of that it gets used and the byproducts that result. So it's a little different. But like if there's one product to like try to find replacements for, and I've never said like you shouldn't use that, but like using that product helps make your air quality worse. So if you can find or use replacements or use things less, that one I'm a little softer on. Paradichlorbenzene's like a slam dunk, like it's a definite carcinogen. You can read it on a lot of labels. There are some unlabeled products, but that one's a little easier because the actions are look for this word. This is what this word looks like. When you see it, don't buy that product.
Like there are alternatives that achieve the same thing that you're after with that product. And that's the other thing that I think is not true of a lot of things. Like telling someone to stop doing something without an alternative, I have not gone there. I
Mm,
I don't go there. Or if I do, it's more in like, yeah, well, what are you trying to get out of that thing? Yeah, that seems like a benefit. That's a tough one to give up, if you could do it less, or, that's kind of where the conversation's gone.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
Fabuloso is also really popular in the Black communities around Chicago.
oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
only
it
really
is.
encountered it in Denver with Hispanic focused communities, and then Puerto Rico was the other place.
Yeah, no, it's used widely in the Black communities around Chicago, and I'm expecting a lot of other places. And I actually just this week I was teaching my Healthy Home Evaluator class, and I have this whole section on day one where I'm talking about VOCs and terpenes and all of those scented things in cleaning products that don't do anything but add chemicals to your air. And I just had picture after picture after picture from going to King Supers and taking pictures of the ones that don't have the scent and the ones that do,
Mhm.
that both say they do the same job of cleaning. And like, yeah, you have alternatives that don't have the odors in them. Buy
Mhm.
those.
Yeah.
Not a specific product, but like you say, Ellison,
Yeah.
alternatives that don't introduce all those chemicals into the air.
Hmm. Yeah. Trying to think.
So I wonder if this is something that I had to be convinced out of. Like it was always in my social environment that if it had a smell, it meant it was cleaner
Hmm.
because you had used cleaner, right? Lemon scent, right? Lemon equals clean. No,
Hmm.
the lemon is not doing the cleaning, but I wonder if I know we tell people these are VOCs, but I wonder if we could just say something like you might think that a scent means it's cleaner, but that scent is actually VOCs.
So the way I pitch it in my class, and it seems to be effective, is I don't tell them. I say, okay, so I just put in the chat limonene, that's the lemon scent.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I say, so do you think the VOC is the thing that makes the thing clean? And people whether they know the answer or not, they'll, just the way I ask, they'll be like, no. I say, yeah, it's not. The surfactant is the thing that makes things clean. The VOC is just something we put in because people think that how do they know it's clean if it doesn't smell like lemons?
Hmm.
But the only thing it's doing is making it smell like lemons instead of smelling like something else. And
Well,
and
so that's an interesting message.
yeah, and people begin to get it. I'll say, a lot of times what it is there's something that smells bad. And so you cover it over with something that smells good, that's a stronger smell. And now instead of getting rid of one bad thing, you keep the one bad thing and put in another thing that's probably not great for you. But as Ellison said, and also Kristen, I think when it comes to 98% of the population, what they want to know is what should I do?
Yeah,
They don't care about all of the science behind it. They want to know
right,
what should I do? They want to know that there's science behind it.
right.
But what they really want to know is what should I do? What's the solution? And um, and so, plus one to both what Chris and Ellison were saying. I do find that it is valuable to lead them to the answer instead of just telling them.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's true in a classroom setting, like when you're educating people. I think I have seen another class of questions, which is should I worry about this? Which is a little bit different from what should I do? And I really hesitate to tell people not to worry because I could be wrong and I don't want to lead them into a feeling of complacency. But I think that's a common thing that I encounter is I observe this thing. Is it a concern?
Yeah, I put it in the chat. I think a lot of the conversations I have are ones actually about what should I don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I find when people are they're curious, but sometimes I think their curiosity is part of a bigger curiosity of do I need to care?
Yeah.
It's masked with like what should I do? Because they're maybe nice or polite or they're oriented towards like flattering you with it. Like I will engage in your little game, but I think sometimes underneath it feels like a question that is more about what can I not worry about, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Are there things that people don't need to worry about? Like, I feel like public health is all about you should worry about everything. It's like everything is a problem. Erica, you've got a completely different perspective. Um, Maybe I won't try to draw any analogies from the other work that you do, but when you engage with what you might consider users or people who are in your environments, what do they want to know? And yeah, does that translate?
Yeah, trying to think. I mean, what I originally wrote down on my little note, I feel like is kind of what we've been talking about, which is like, yeah, the resource for who the target user is, which is like really everyone, but how do we get people to realize that they're the target user of, being concerned about their indoor air quality while also not, just adding a bunch of more reasons and, paranoia about everything is unsafe around them, which is kind of most of my research. I feel like I'm trying to like engineer or design the system so that people aren't aware, perhaps, right, that they're in danger. So a lot of the work in the vehicle is like how do you design the vehicle interfaces and the control systems so that it removes the human error, and protects them from what they could have done to harm them, which isn't necessarily a good answer, but it's like I, don't usually do the public facing like outreach to the people. It's like the step behind the scenes so that they don't ever have to worry about it.
I feel like I've also heard kind of it's similar to some of the things that other people have said, but I found that a lot of people aren't observant. And so when talking about this research, they're like, oh, so should I not open my window, like, and let fresh air in? And so I kind of building on the idea of like what should I do of like when should I do this or when should I care?
Yeah, I like what you said, Erica, and Danny, about like when do you need to care? I mean, it's sort of like we don't we don't remove worry from people often enough, and that can be liberating, right? Like, okay, you don't have to care about this, but in exchange, would you please care about that, right? Paul, you tell people not to bathe, clean, or cook.
Tell them about like all the VOCs, all the humidity, all the particles, and if it's gas, you also get nitrogen dioxide, all these things. So you might think I've now told you don't bathe, don't clean, don't cook. No, you should do those things. It's not about not ever having anything. It's about what do you do to minimize your risk given that you're going to do these things.
I'm jumping in the middle here, so I may be completely off on what we're discussing right now, but I think maybe how we're talking about risk, is that in the right, and how do we convey things to people? Am I in the right ballpark of things?
And what do we want to tell people? Like what or not just what do we want to tell people about our work, but what do they want to know from us and how can we fill that need?
Yeah. One of the ones I've found most effective is we try and frame as many of the things as possible in context of things that they are already really familiar with. So it doesn't help with the what do they want to know, but I don't think we've been overly effective when we've been like getting way too into the numbers and done much better on the, well, this day is the same as what you would have been exposed to all year if it was clean, or this forest fire, although it seemed bad, that's one standard day in New York. Like just putting things in more categorical type um, pieces, I found a lot more useful to start the conversations. Um, Personally, in terms of what people want to know, like I feel like Ellison probably knows that better than I do by any stretch of the imagination. But I think for a lot of our pieces, they just want like some information about when things were different than typical. You don't either tell me everything was normal or tell me what went on. Like they're perfectly happy hearing just this was a normal day, stop thinking about it, move on. I think we sometimes give people way too much information when things
Hmm.
are in a normal condition. So
Do you think people like hearing that things are normal, or are they like, well, why were you measuring that if it's all more normal?
I think they like hearing normal because I think anytime we go in with this type of equipment, their anxiety goes up. And so I think
Hmm.
it actually is kind of a comforting thing when we come in and we give them the feedback of, yeah, we're doing all this stuff. This week was a pretty typical day, nothing to stress about. You can go on with your life.
Yeah.
I think people assume things are bad because we've made a point to measure them. And it's reassuring to hear this week just happened to be like every other week for you.
Yeah, I
Think
want
about
to
the thousand
reinforce
other
that.
things.
We added to our home health reports, we added keep up the good work. Your indoor air quality looks good. Or especially because we measured them 3 times in a row. Um, but even if the first time was good, we were like, keep it up. This looks good. And we got like feedback in our surveys where they had open comments from a few people that were like, I really appreciated knowing that. And we got verbal, like
Hmm.
people that told us like that was really helpful. It made me calm down. I thought maybe I was getting these measurements because I have bad air quality and or everybody has bad indoor air quality. It was nice to know that I didn't.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I wanted to
So
know, can I direct, oh, sorry, go ahead, Christian.
I was going to pivot in a slightly different way, so keep going.
Well, maybe I wanted to know from Erica, like I think we keep saying people, but I find that there's like different tiers. There's people that like want to know everything's fine or it's not fine, and I'm glad to know it's not fine, but that I don't need more information. I'm not planning on doing anything with it, but I'm just gonna like I have some peace of mind because I know and when I have bandwidth and money or time or whatever, I might come back to that. But then there's other people that once they know, they like move into this next tier where they're like, and now I'm want to do something. And that's even seems too clustered. I think there's probably a lot more variability, but I thought maybe Erica, you might have terminology for that.
Yeah, I don't
Presentation.
yeah, I don't know if I do necessarily like off the top of my head, but I've been trying to do work I don't know, over the past couple of years like like looking at different scales, like personality categorizations, and I feel like there can be you can help kind of tune or direct your messaging based on, like, for example, we did a study on emotional intelligence and how that affects, driving behaviors, or, risk propensity tends to be a big one too. And I could see like risk, coming into the home, like decisions, whether you're willing to accept or not some level of risk. And I think locus of control is another one, right? That you can have a scale of how much people think they have the ability to change the world around them versus it's going to happen no matter what they do. I've seen some interesting work in, like, yeah, trying to capture that aspect and then tailoring it depending on how they rank in those continuums.
I thought it was locust of control for years. Somebody was very polite and corrected me offline one day. Um, anyway, I think that was super helpful. The other resource that just came to mind that we might reference or look at, this kind of builds on both that some people want to know some and some want to know a lot, is the Love My Air program has made a lot of their knowledge, like they did a lot of, so Love My Air is a network program based out of Denver that's now spun out in a lot of other places. It's mostly outdoor ambient measurements, but they've put together a bunch of reports on the community engaged design of their dashboards and the information they're sharing. I think they have quite a bit there about, like, these are the questions people came back to us, at least for outdoor air. There may be some knowledge we can pull from that. And a lot of it's public, like those reports and stuff.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I'm not really into reinventing wheels. Like if somebody's already done good communication and it's public, point people to that. I'm more trying to figure out when I don't know where to point people, or when we get asked questions that we really ought to know, how do we provide that resource to people when they want it? And also, we do have a sort of niche way of thinking about indoor air where we are um, thinking about the function of a house. And so um, what should we be providing, and do people want it? Right? I feel some kind of obligation to share with the public, but not if nobody cares, right?
Yeah, I
So it's kind
think that Love My Air one has a lot of, here is the, index card size explanation of air pollution. Here's the one pager. Here's the go down the rabbit hole if you want to nerd out about air pollution type scales. I'll see if I can find it. I think I have it saved for something else.
oh, cool. Thank you, Danny. Yeah, so like if somebody's already done it, like I said, we don't need to do it again. The thing that we're doing in the contractor training or the assessor training is not like this is air pollution. It's like here's a little bit of this is air pollution, and then here's how that information interacts with airflow in your house. And so I really don't feel the need to educate anybody about air pollution because I think other people have done that well. But what should we be providing? What should we be responding to? What's our responsibility? Okay, I heard a lot of good things here. There was, I think, no specific action items, but there's general attitudes, which I think is actually more guiding and useful overall. Like, um, people are looking for what they can do and what they should not do. People want to know if they need to care. Um, they I actually don't mind knowing if this day is the same as another one. Whereas, like, I have to take my research hat off there and go, well, if it's the same, that my research hat would say, if it's the same, why were you measuring it? But if that's something people want to know, then I can untrain myself. And telling people that they're fine is, or when they're fine is also a good thing. And then we should keep in mind to look at Love My Air. Yeah, so I guess just keep trying to make sure we're useful to people. I very often feel like I am not doing enough in that regard. Anyone have other things to bring up? Danny, you can share your book recommendation in the chat. What is it?
It's called Habit.
Oh,
It's
it's just
actually
called Habit.
really, it's just called Habit. Um, but they talk about how when Febreze first came out, they discovered the chemical that removes smells, and it didn't sell. And Procter and Gamble, it was a huge flop, like massive, massive flop, and they couldn't figure out how to sell it. And then they realized that it didn't have a scent, and they were marketing it wrong. So they added in like a lavender scent, and then it flew off the shelves. And then same thing with toothpaste. Like toothpaste was around for a really long time before it became popular. And it only became popular when someone started marketing it with mint oil in it, because you get that little like the minty taste in your mouth. And then that's why people started brushing teeth, because they associate that with being clean. So it's interesting to think about like A, how we make habits, but B, like the stuff that markets to us in that way, like in the everyday world. Um, I'll put it in the chat. It's a good one.
No, that's super. I've had that too, but okay, it drives me crazy that I can't get a garbage bag that doesn't smell. Even when they say they're unscented, they smell. It drives me crazy. Um, but for me, it's like I don't know when I am making a difference, right? So the smell is an indicator if you've done something, but I don't. But now I don't use Febreze because I don't want the smell. So but obviously I'm not your public. Okay.
I would just add to that, Tam. I think the conversations that we have with people, it really does depend if we're talking about particles or VOCs. I think the conversation is actually quite different because the knowledge of harm and the thresholds of harm are much better established. And
Hmm.
a great point to close on. I think the concern about VOCs is at the same time overblown, but then underrated. There are some that are very worth paying attention to, but the abundance is not. And for a lot of people, it is
Mm.
not something that I think should rise to the level, like they should change their diet or their social interactions more, like, and get more out of it for their heart health, or they should reduce their stress. Like there's so many things that contribute to wellness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think it is a problem of chicken or egg because there's less evidence to lean on to say don't worry about this. But the specter of like it's on the potential carcinogen list like makes it seem as bad as things that we know are like definitely cause cancer and definitely occur in homes at levels that exceed thresholds. But that number of definites is very small relative to the number of things that are brought into the home. And it's not clear cut. Whereas with particles, I think it's easier to say, yeah, we know if you reduce them, it's good. We know you may not be able to right now. But when you can, that'd be great. Like I think it's just for me, it's an easier conversation.
Yeah, but that said, if the particles are coming from burning candles, it
Mhm.
becomes a harder discussion again.
So
Um,
yeah, that whole levels of harm thing, I think thank you for raising a topic that would take another hour, Allison,
I
to
know, I
discuss.
know. I thought I should have done, but I think it's It's worth it putting in the mix.
Yeah, I agree. I mean that's definitely an interesting discussion because I feel like we're so interested in making sure we get out simple messages, like don't use VOCs, that we're not able to communicate this nuance. But I don't know. Maybe citrus versus lavender is a good thing to communicate. Okay, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut on that discussion because I don't know enough. Have a great weekend, everyone, and a good holiday.
Oh, Tammy,
Yeah,
everybody, we have a tech team meeting at 3
yeah.
o'clock next week. We're going to
17,
have a what?
Wednesday. Wednesday.
Wednesday, 3 o'clock. We're going to be having kind of a guest, a colleague of mine, Tom Andrews, who is on the NFPA 54 committee. That's the National Fuel Gas Code. He's one of the people who I look at and think there are people out there who know a lot more about like the practical retrofit of buildings than I do by a good bit. He is
Yeah.
that level of person,
Hey,
and
we're like over time, Paul. I
yeah,
was going
he
to
will.
send an email about that.
Yeah, I just want to know people to know what it's about when you send the email. You're welcome to join.
Okay.
He's going to answer our questions.
Yeah, you're going to get email about other stuff too.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.